You as a bookkeeper often find yourself getting stuck and don't know where to go for answers. Today I'm going to tell you 7 resources that you can use to get unstuck when you have bookkeeper questions. My name is Morgan from FinePoints.biz and I love helping you guys get organized. Make sure you hit the red subscribe button down below to get a video from me every single week. Alright, in today's video I'm using the acronym UNSTUCK, so UNSTUCK, and each letter stands for one of the resources that I'm going to tell you about. So leave me a comment down below, let me know if any of these seem kind of like a stretch to you or if you enjoy this type of thing. Alright, so the first one is for you. It is for YouTube. And you can find so many of your questions answered on YouTube. Someone wrote to me and they say, I feel like I'm constantly Googling all my questions and I don't know where to turn. And I would say that is totally normal, especially when you're starting out or if you have a new type of client. If you don't want to spend a lot of money and you want to use all those free resources, it'll just take some time sometimes to find the answers to your questions. But I'd say 90% of information is on there that you need. I know when I was starting out, I did that constantly and I would spend lots of times. Some great ones that you can check out are Seth David from Nerd Enterprises, 5-Minute Bookkeeping, Veronica is her name, and of course Hector Garcia. And definitely leave me a comment down below if there are other YouTubers for bookkeepers that you guys like, because I always love connecting with those other YouTubers. So when you search for something, make sure you use the keywords QBO or QuickBooks Online, because that'll help you really get directed to the right type of video so that you know what you want to do is matching what they're doing on the screen. And I would also recommend looking at how recently the video was made, because a lot of things are changing in QuickBooks every year. So if it's a couple years old, that's okay. But if it's 5 or more years old, maybe look for a newer example of that. All right, the second thing I want you to think about for N is niche. So if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, having a really specified niche is going to help you a lot. So I don't want you to try to think that you have to learn every single thing about bookkeeping, in the first month or the first year. But if you just focus on learning one thing at a time and one niche at a time, that's really going to help you out. So maybe the first thing you learn is how to set up a new business in QuickBooks Online. That is not very hard to learn and that's not very overwhelming. And then the second thing you learn is how to categorize bank feeds. So if you just do things little by little and then build on the knowledge that you have, that is going to make you feel unstuck a lot faster. And then after you figure those out, you can start adding things onto it, like maybe creating invoices or recording deposits or paying bills, but don't feel like you have to do that all at once. And then the most simple businesses that are easy to start out with are people like photographers or maybe a wedding planner, or Etsy sellers are pretty easy if they don't have too much PayPal. Or piano teachers, dog walkers, someone who is just working for themselves, they're their only employee, and they don't have any inventory to manage or anything, they're just selling their service. All right, and so for the letter S, I have start somewhere. So for example, start working in an office. And you may think this kind of goes against some of the things that I've been talking about, because I talk about, starting your own business and working for yourself and how you can charge a higher rate as a contractor doing that. But if you're just starting out and you want the comfort and kind of the training and the resources that come with being in an office setting, definitely think about starting in an office. That's what I did. I worked 1 day a week for a nonprofit, and it was a pretty big nonprofit. And I sat in the same office as the accountant, so I learned a lot from that accountant. And they had really good processes in place on how to do things and how to pay bills. And so even though I didn't earn as high of an hourly rate as I could have working for a client being a contractor, I was really able to gain a wealth of knowledge from that business. And there was one other accountant that gave me a few just one-off projects that he had too many clients, so he just gave me a couple projects, and I learned a ton from that accountant as well. So anytime you're, as a solo bookkeeper, sometimes you're lonely, you're by yourself, anytime you can somehow surround yourself with other people with knowledge, that is going to help you out a lot. All right, and then the letter T, I have take a class. So anytime you are taking a class and paying for a class, then usually you have access to that instructor to ask questions. And so to some degree in this scenario, you kind of do get what you pay for. If you buy a pretty inexpensive class, you may get limited access to your teacher. And then if you buy a more expensive one, you'll get more prolonged, more of your questions answered. So for example, I have a class and my students are welcome to write comments and ask questions in the comments, and I always reply to all of those comments. Or if you took an in-person class at a college somewhere, then you would have access to that professor. And the program Bookkeeper Launch is top of mind to me because I'm going through that class right now. I did a dedicated video on that I'll leave linked down below. They have a whole Facebook group that people can interact in. It's very active, and people are helping each other out and asking questions there. And they have an entire team dedicated to answering bookkeeper questions. So if you're setting up your first client and you're having trouble connecting their bank feeds, you can access the Student Help Center within Bookkeeper Launch, and they will help you out. So again, the price tag on that is a little bit higher to have all those great resources, but many people have decided it is well worth it, and that's almost invaluable to have that kind of mentorship as you're starting out. All right, and then moving on to the U. For this one, I have use QuickBooks. So QuickBooks does have a sample company in there. If you go to the top right-hand corner and then say switch to sample company, you can do tons of practicing within the sample company without messing up anyone's real books. And I do have a video about where I walk you through how to find that and some other hacks. So that video is called Hacks to Gain Experience as a Bookkeeper, which I'll leave a link down below. And in addition to the sample company, QuickBooks also has tons and tons of help forums. So if you Google any question, oftentimes that question has been asked before, and you can read the person's question and answer and hopefully get your questions answered. And this is a little less individualized as, for example, Bookkeeper Launch, or if you have a really, really specific question with a problem that you're having with a certain client, you might not be able to find the answer just to those in the QuickBooks forums. But a lot of times if it's like, oh, I'm getting this error, what is it? Or simple things like, I can't figure out how to turn on classes, like those type of things. I think, especially if it's a quick question, just Google it and you'll probably find a QuickBooks forum that talks about it, and that will probably be quicker than looking through, tons of YouTube videos to find a really small answer to your question. And along with the U for use QuickBooks, just be practicing and practicing every minute you can. Do your own books, or if you want to figure out how to make an invoice for a client, just try it out. See what happens, go to the profit and loss statement, go to the, go different places and see where that invoice shows up, or, if you want to do a journal entry or whatever you're trying to learn, just try one, because pretty much everything you can delete, especially it wouldn't be that hard if it's just like a one thing. If you have like rows and rows of mistakes, then you don't want to do that. But just play around, try stuff. Just the more time you spend within QuickBooks, the better bookkeeper you're going to be. The more you're going to know that knowledge and understand how bookkeeping works within the QuickBooks platform. All right, and for the letter C in Unstuck is check out Facebook groups. So I feel like I've mentioned this a lot to you guys, but I really have found these helpful. And the great thing about Facebook groups is you can get a very, very specific question answered. So it's not just a general forum. And also that is a good place that sometimes you can make connections. So I've seen it a lot of times when someone's asking a question about a certain industry or about a specific thing that someone else specializes in, and then that person is able to jump in and maybe even like mentor them a little bit, or sometimes they'll be like, DM me privately and we can talk about this. I know that happened to me once. Someone was like, oh yeah, give me a call and I'll talk to you about this issue. I was trying to figure out, someone wanted me to do their kind of personal finances alongside their business finances. So I was kind of figuring out the best way to like keep those separate, but let the client see all their information they wanted to see. So anyways, this other bookkeeper said, yeah, just give me a call. I do that a lot. I'll talk to you about that. So we just talked for like 15 minutes. And then she was asking me questions because she wasn't as familiar with QuickBooks Online. So she wanted to get some input about that. So I don't know, it was really a quick and easy way to really feel connected with someone and to feel like you're not alone and that your questions are getting answered. And I would just say, be respectful of people's, time. And I wouldn't assume that someone's just going to be able to do a phone call with you right off the bat, but if they offer, definitely take them up on the offer. So on Facebook, I think you go within the groups section and you can just search for bookkeeper or bookkeeper groups. I think I mentioned before, a couple of my favorites are the Successful Bookkeeper and then the 1 through 5 minute bookkeeping. And then I also belong to a couple that are specifically for my niche. So you could Google that as well, like bookkeepers for veterinarians or whatever your niche is. All right, and my last one, the K in Unstuck, is just keep swimming. It's keep swimming, right? So you are gonna feel overwhelmed. You're gonna feel alone. There's definitely gonna be things you don't know how to do. But part of being a bookkeeper is working through those hardships and keep going. So I just wanna encourage you, if you are feeling stuck, you're not alone. Every single bookkeeper, a bookkeeper who's been working for 10 years was once in your shoes and they felt like you feel overwhelmed or like they didn't know how to do things. I have definitely felt like that at different times over the years, more so at the beginning. So it does get better and better the more you work and the more you know, and the more you're just comfortable with your clients and with your niche. I would really appreciate if you left this video a thumbs up if you liked it and hit the red subscribe button down below. I really hope this video was encouraging to you, and I would love it if you check out the other videos on my channel. I have a lot for bookkeepers just starting out and some tutorials and that type of thing. Thanks so much.